Recent videos by famous YouTubers such as The Mighty Jingles, Ed Flamu, and of course my own general experience within the game have led me to believe that more needs to be done to educate the player base on how to properly play the game. Honestly, I'm just tired of seeing New York sit at the back of the map and fire nothing but HE, cruisers YOLOing broadside to 3 battleships, and people sitting oblivious to torpedoes and smoke, among other things. This series sets out to teach your average noob how not to suck at World of Warships, to the best of my ability. Though I should point out that I am not all that amazing at the game myself. However, if the general player base were to be educated on these things, I believe it would result in a better overall playing experience for everyone. One last point before I go into the guide itself. Experienced players, it's time to stop berating less skilled players, especially after the battle ends. Instead, offer some helpful suggestions, and hopefully they will take them to heart, or will even ask you for more help. If not, simply ignore them. You won't get anything out of insulting them anyway. Anyways, onto the guide itself. We'll start with some settings that you absolutely need, and some basic tips for general gameplay in any normal ship. Carriers will not apply in this situation. Graphics depends all on your computer. Mine is decent, but is by no means good, and being only a laptop with an i7 processor, 8GB of RAM, and an NVIDIA GE930M graphics card. You can see my settings for graphics for my computer here, and I am able to get about 30 to 50 FPS with this setup, which I consider adequate enough. Again, not every computer is created equal, and you may need to adjust your settings to optimize your performance. I'm going to skip over audio, as that is completely personal preference. I have national voices turned on for a small bit of authenticity. Let's move on to the most important screen of your settings, though, the controls. All of my buttons are on the default setting. You can change it to your preference. I believe all of my settings for the battle camera are also default, as is mouth sensitivity. We'll get back to the crosshair later. For now, let's focus on this section down here. Always set alternative battle interface to full, as without it, you don't know who anybody is beyond their ship type, and thus the information you are receiving from the game is very limited. Make sure to turn on detailed ribbons too, as you'll learn a lot more about your game performance. I'm pretty sure with detailed ribbons off, you won't even see how much damage you're doing. Also, make sure your smoke screen boundaries and smoke screen timer are on. As without this, you will not be able to tell if you're within your smoke screen or not, and how long the smoke screen will remain. Most of the other settings here are, again, personal preference. Now, let's look at the crosshair. I use the static crosshair, Type 3. Although Type 2 is also usable, it just makes the lines a little bolder. Like that. I know some YouTubers, such as Euro, use the Type 7 crosshair, and that is probably also viable. There's just too many lines on the screen for my brain to handle. Now for some general gameplay tips that apply across all classes. While you're in smoke, it's a good idea to turn away from the direction of the enemy. This will leave you better able to dodge incoming torps, especially if you don't have hydro, and it will also allow you to escape once your smoke dissipates. While you will lose some of your firepower, it is better to stay alive and not die to torpedoes. Next, no matter what ship you're in, if an enemy is targeting you, don't go broadside unless you know he's just fired. Even destroyers will melt via overpens from battleships, and battleships that are supposedly unsittable, like the Germans, will have weak belt armor that will get chewed up by other battleships. In cruisers, well, this happens.
Oh, fuck me right in the ass. Oh.
That's all for now, folks, and be sure to check out the next video in which we cover the specifics and how-tos of battleships.